Really interested to get your views on all of this. We spoke to the political editor of The Sun on Sunday an hour ago. He said it was the most extraordinary attack, blue on blue, that he had ever witnessed.
Well, I'm not sure. Do you remember Ted Heath and Margaret Thatcher back in the 80s, and also Harold Macmillan even criticizing Margaret Thatcher? But I think it's not that important. I'm not taking anything away from John Major or anything. He's entitled to criticize. But really, when politicians criticize other politicians, I get this sense of playing that moral high ground is, when things weren't that perfect back in the 1990s when John Major was Prime Minister.
The difference that John Major was trying to make yesterday was that he did something to clean it up, whereas he made the argument that Boris Johnson's government instead tries to make excuses or indeed change the rules.
Yeah. I don't think, look, if you look at British politics over the last 50 years, I don't think it changes, even the last 100 years. I don't think these things change from government to government. Remember cash for questions before and things like that. And remember when they're talking about the House of Lords selling titles, David Lloyd George, 100 years ago. Every government has these problems. And I think what Boris Johnson tried to do, maybe he made a mistake by trying to kill two birds with one stone over our friend Mr. Patterson. But I really think it's all exaggerated. I think this government is no more sleazy than any other government we've ever had. It's imperfect, like all governments, and politicians make mistakes. And also, I think I don't like it when MPs get on the moral high horse because none of them are perfect. There's a lot of, hidden demons there.
What do you make of these? We're getting some emails this morning. I have to say I'm quite surprised that from Conservative voters saying they won't vote for the Conservative Party again whilst Boris Johnson is leader because of what has happened. That's by no means all the emails we're getting. There are a lot of them being very critical of John Major as well. But I'm surprised that we've even had these emails saying I'm not going to vote Conservative again.
Well, look, I'm a Telegraph subscriber. I read the comments for the last 2 years. I've seen a lot of people, Conservative supporters, not happy with the government. And the problem is a week is a long time in politics. Was it Harold Wilson who said that? I can't remember. And things change by the time you get to general elections. People will vote how they feel at the time. Boris Johnson he's an amazing politician because he's managed to sort of win that big majority. He's pulled a lot of major changes in this country. He's done well, not with the lockdowns, but with the vaccine process. But he's imperfect. He's the opposite of Ted Heath. He's not a great administrator. And I think these days, I don't think we have a first-class cabinet. But he is somehow managing to put the government in the right direction across general things. When it comes to details, there are problems. And I think he made a mistake there when he tried that in the House of Commons last week. They do need to change that process. As for Owen Patterson, he resigned, and we all know about the Corona contracts and all of that. But I wouldn't be too judgmental of the Prime Minister on this.
Is it because we find ourselves sort of almost debating Boris Johnson's legacy at this stage, don't we? And lots of people will say, well, of course, he got Brexit through, then that's up for discussion, isn't it? Because we see the ongoing imperfections in the Northern Ireland Protocol going on with those deadlocked talks. Then you have those people saying, well, he's losing a lot of his common voters by pinning his colours to the mast when it comes to his green ambitions. Lots of Conservative voters, perhaps not that happy about it. But then there's also people emailing in this morning going, forget John Major, forget all his criticisms about sleaze. What Boris Johnson will be really judged on is how he handles the migrant crisis. How will his legacy be defined?
Look, it's too early to say. It's a very mixed legacy. And in fact, if you look at every prime minister, I remember I was living in England in the early 80s when Mrs. Thatcher, before the Falklands, was not seen as a successful prime minister. You know, then they made Michael Foot the head of the Labour Party, and the Falklands came, and it went right for her. She was a bit lucky that way. It's too early to judge a government. There's a lot of Tory policies I disagree with, and I didn't agree with all the lockdown policies or the Coronavirus Act. But in general, and the sweep of history, Boris is one of these broad picture politicians. He's not a great administrator at all, but he will probably win the next general election, despite what all the polls are saying now, and he will switch. I don't think he's any more corrupt than any British prime minister we've had before. You have to go back to Tony Blair, who I think did a lot more damage to this country, and I think there's a big mess being cleaned up by the Conservatives, some of it their own mess. The last 10 years, the national debt's doubled from 1 to 2 trillion. They created a lot of their own problems. The government needs to be given time, and they're not going to get everything right, and things aren't perfect, and politicians can't solve all our problems. What they have to sort out is their own house, their own financial house, and they've got to, the Brexit thing is going to be fine in the end. It's happened. There'll always be problems between countries.
David, I agree with you that, no politicians are perfect, no government's perfect, no one is perfect, and it's OK to make mistakes. What's important is that you learn from your mistakes. And the thing with Boris Johnson is we keep having these U-turns, over school meals, and then this the other week. It's almost like he's not learning from his political judgment. He can't work out what he should be doing or where his judgment is. And so in that respect, do you think this is the last time we'll see big political mistakes like this? Is he learning, do you think?
Sadly, most prime ministers, by the end of their term, are still making mistakes and not learning from them. I think Boris Johnson should pay a bit more attention to things and look at detail a bit more, and maybe get a better cabinet team in there. There's a lot of very good people in the backbenches waiting to get involved in government. But it's hard to say. As I say, I'm very critical of the government and a lot of things they've done. I'm a bit more conservative than they are, but we know that Lord Boris is this big liberal type guy who wants to. A lot of it's going to fail. The green policy thing is going to fail in the end, but so many people believe in that. They don't realize that government can change the weather, okay? And some of those things will be successful and some won't. Like all politicians, if you go back and read the newspapers 10, 20, 30 years ago, you'll find that they're all in a bit of a pickle on things. Okay. And yes, Boris needs some better advisors around him, I think.
Okay.
Welcome to the GB News YouTube channel. You can watch us live 24 hours a day, catch up on your favourite shows, and join in the conversation in the comments below.
Don't forget to subscribe and you'll never miss any of our exclusive content.